Hello, everyone. My name is Elon Michael. I'm originally from Israel, but I live in Europe now for the past 8 years. Very shortly about myself, I've started working in tech about 15 years ago. I'm 37 years today. Started working in cybersecurity, which is very common in Israel. And then I moved about 5 years ago to Amazon Web Services, or AWS. Worked there in business development across EMEA, did a bunch of stuff, invented a bunch of stuff. And then getting so excited with AI about 3 years ago, I decided I have to start my own company, struggled to find a good idea until eventually I found a good idea. And actually what we're doing right now, podcasts. So I'm obsessed with podcasts, really, really obsessed for many years now. And I decided 18 months ago to fund a company called Spice. We built the best AI podcast app that no one cares about. Understanding that this is not working, me and the team about 3 months ago decided, okay, we have to find a way to pivot from that. And this is how we got into Lucid Dream today.
Tell us your story. Why did you start building Lucid Dream?
Again, as I said, 18 months ago, when I really wanted to build my own company, and I can share a lot about why I've decided to do it if you are interested. But coming from tech and working for big tech, let's say AWS, I think you can consider big tech. I started understanding, and I will be very honest here, that the outcome versus investment, let's say, or input versus output is not perfectly aligned to my interests. I will explain what that means. So if you work for a company, and that could be any company, there is a cap to how much you can earn and what is the outcome of your hard work. There is a cap because the salary is let's say capped. It is agreed upon. No matter how hard you work, the salary will be the same. There are some jobs where you can have bonuses, etc. But I understood that I have a capacity to endure a lot of hard work, and I considered myself to be a reasonably smart person. And I said, if I invest a bit more of my time and effort and brains, maybe I can get a better outcome. So that's why I decided to start my own company, and I can go really deep into this. But 18 months ago, I said, okay, I want to build something, and I'm in love with podcasts. It's something that is just growing and growing and growing. I think we are moving into a world where distributed media, or the way Andreessen Horowitz are calling it, new media, is going to be the future. People won't just listen to the news. They're going to listen to specific podcasts or specific influencer or whatever it is, who is building that. And I said, okay, let's build something in this space. I'm passionate about it. So I decided to build a podcast platform, competing with TikTok and YouTube and Spotify. Dumb decision. But in the process of doing that, we've built an incredible infrastructure. So because we didn't have users who are going to upload the content, like I believe you are going to upload this to YouTube, we needed to have AI agents who are going to grab the content, create the clips, create the metadata, edit it, all of this stuff, so that people would have something to consume. And so after we understood the business model around this is broken and that we indeed cannot compete with YouTube, we said, okay, how we can change that while leveraging what we already built. And there is a funny story here. There is a podcaster I admire, really. His name is David Senra. He's the guy behind Founders, a podcast named Founders, and now he has a new podcast on his name, so David Senra by David Senra. And he wrote me a message on Twitter, I think around September or October last year, 2025, and he said, hey man, I'm starting a new show. I need help with clips. Would be wonderful if you can help me with clips. And I started noticing that this is repeating, that people, even big podcasters with funds and everything, are still struggling to get this output and distribution. And so we understood there is something here, and 3 months ago we decided to pivot into Lucid Dream, which practically today Lucid Dream is an agent that allows podcasters and video creators to run their distribution on autopilot. It's an agent that does everything from the moment you finish the recording. It clips, it edits, it creates outputs, repurposes content to writing, Substack, newsletter, articles on Twitter, whatever it is, and distributes it on your behalf. So that was a long explanation. I hope it was detailed.
Okay, so what problem were you exactly trying to solve when you started Lucid Dream, and how did you come up with the problem exactly?
Yeah, very good. So again, I think coming up with the problem is, and this is insight that I've learned from Spice, from the first startup before we pivoted, is it is actually for anyone listening who want to start a company, who have an idea. Ideas are very dangerous, and I'll explain why. We are human beings. We're very delusional, so we can impose our will and our hopes and our dreams onto reality, which a lot of books will tell you that this is how you create new stuff, which I can completely understand. But at the same time, our ideas and dreams and delusions about reality must collide with reality. What does it mean? You must test if your idea is valid. You must have an idea to do this and that. You have to take this idea and first of all, speak with other people. So when we built the AI podcast app, it was my idea because it's my passion and I thought it's brilliant. And obviously I was wrong. With Lucid Dream, I said, okay, before I do anything, I'm going to interview at least 200 people. And it's a big number. But I decided I'm not going to start anything until I speak with at least 200 podcasters. And so I've reached out to 200 podcasters and I asked them, hey, I don't want to tell you my idea. I want you to explain to me how your work looks like today, what you hate, and I can get into why hate is so important, what you hate today in your workflow, what's painful, what's expensive, what's broken, and just tell me that. I'm not gonna say anything. And I recorded all of these calls with their permission, of course, and then had the transcriptions. And after I had all of these 200 calls, I said, okay, it is clear that there are three things people are saying here. We have what's broken today, what they hate, what's expensive, etc. But eventually we got into three buckets. Podcasters and video creators told us the same thing over in different words. They said, we want to create, distribute, and hopefully monetize our content from a single tool. That super clear, as simple as that. And I understood, okay, that's what we're going to build. So this is how we got into the idea and why this is our direction. It's literally came from the people who are experiencing this problem and pain today.
What was the moment that you think that, yeah, this is when I want to leave a job and want to build something of my own?
So the moment was, as I said, about 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago. I already had an idea for a startup, found a co-founder. We started working on this together. Eventually, we just decided we couldn't see the prospect exactly, and we decided to drop the idea. And that also helped me to understand that I want to be a solo founder. I don't want to co-found with other people because I want to depend only on my own, let's say, emotions and path, etc. But the moment I understood it, again, 3.5, 4 years ago, is where I said, you can have very good life working in tech, working in having a good salary. It could be other places other than tech, but again, it's capped. Like there is a ceiling to how big things could be for you, how much money you can make, how big impact you can have on the world. When you work in another company, you are actually living someone else's life. If you think about it, like working for AWS, you're living Jeff Bezos's life because he has a dream, he made it a reality, and you are working inside his dream, not inside your own. Now, of course, a caveat, of course you can have fulfillment inside someone else's company. Of course you can. But especially for someone like me who is so obsessed with self-expression and being out there and doing stuff and paving my own way, I said, I don't want to work for Jeff Bezos. I want to be Jeff Bezos. And that alongside the potential financial benefit of building your own, of course, there is much risk, but the potential financial benefit of building something that works, I said, okay, this is where I want to go and what I want to do with my life.
Did anyone tell you ever that, hey, this idea won't work, whatever you are working on?
Yeah, 100%, and they might be right, especially on the first idea on Spice. So I'd say this. First of all, no one knows anything. Like you have to respect this reality. Your parents don't know anything. Like your parents lived and grew up and made money and made life in a world that is not existing today. And that was also true to their parents, especially in India, right? India, I think, like your grandparents lived in a very different India that it is today. And that's true also to Europe and the United States and everywhere else. So I think, first of all, is understanding no one knows anything. People have opinions, and it's okay. It's okay to have opinions. You can listen to them. You can measure them within the grand scheme of things, but it's just opinions. When people told me that the idea is either stupid or it won't work, I said, let's use Elon Musk's first principle thinking. Okay, I know everyone is kind of saying that today, but let's just use the reality, and I would couple this with something Jeff Bezos said. So Jeff Bezos said, don't ask how tomorrow will look like. Like, how do I know which startup to build or which idea to go through? Like, how 5 years will from now will look like? Ask yourself what won't change in 10 years. And when I asked myself that, I said, okay, everyone who's telling me the idea is not good is not taking into consideration the fact that everything I'm building towards will stay true in the future. If I can be successful or not, that's a different question, of course. But that's what I think about people telling you not to try and chase your dreams. It's just, why would that not work? Like, under which circumstances my idea specifically and me wanting to be a founder won't work? And once you measure that, you understand that, hey, there is an actual opportunity here.
What is the thing like? Why did you put that thing as content chief of staff on Lucid Dream?
Very good question. So again, coming from only users, so that title came from a customer, and when I divided what people want into three buckets, right? It was like, we want to create, distribute, and hopefully monetize from one single tool or app or platform or an agent. The one thing a lot of them said, especially the most successful ones who can afford it financially, they said, we are actually thinking about hiring a content chief of staff, like someone who is going to take care of all of that, of the clipping, of my social media accounts, of like all of this stuff, so I can focus on create. And I understood, okay, what if instead of hiring someone for thousands of dollars, either offshore or let's say in the United States, why not hire an agent? And then I came up with the idea of Lucid Dream is your content chief of staff. And the mission or the goal or the outcome that it should provide for you is so you could create, distribute, and hopefully monetize from a single tool. That's the idea.
What is the biggest challenge you think that creators all around the world are facing?
You know, this is interesting. If you go 50 years back, and of course also maybe 25 years back, you all of us would consume the same content. It would be David Letterman or SNL or whatever local show or whatever local news at 8 p.m. in your country. We'd all watch the same thing. And of course, with the internet, this changes. And then with social media, it changed completely, where people can watch this. And you are making this from your home, right? Maybe living room, and I'm making it from my home. And we are creating media. We are literally creating content right now. And so creating content is much easier today. The challenge is how to be found. Like, why should someone watch you? When you are the only show, David Letterman, at 8 p.m. in the United States, at a Sunday, you are the only thing to watch. So it's obvious why people would watch you. But right now, that's the difficult thing. The challenge is not to create content. We are doing it right now. It's almost free. It's easy. It's one conversation. But the challenge is distribution and being out there so people can get to know you. And I think if you ask me, the biggest challenge today would actually be trust. So we collapsed, and we can go back to every technological advancement and cycle. We now collapsed entirely the cost of creating content. Okay, it's just two people or one person. Even if you're David Senran, you have the podcast called Founders. Even one person can create amazing content. I think the question is trust. Why should someone trust you spending the 1 hour a day to listen to your podcasts, or to listen to your how to lose weight, or how to find a job in tech, or how to start coding, or whatever it is content that you're making? Okay, a fitness influencer, tech influencer, whatever it is. So I think trust is the most important thing today, and we can try to understand how to gain it, but actually trust didn't change at all with technology. So we are still the same human beings that we were 5,000 years ago with technology. So actually trust, you can boil it down into a few things. It's, can I count on you to be there also next week? Are you going to create this level of content every week? So that's repetitiveness, right? I can count on you to show up every week. The second thing is the quality of the content. Can I know that I am, as a listener, that you are investing in me? meaning the quality of the video, the quality of the guest, the quality of the style, everything about your show. Are you paying attention and are you investing in this because I'm your customer? Me spending 1 hour with my headphones listening to you, I'm your customers. Are you investing back in me? Okay, so we have this. And the last thing is, are you creating or bringing guests that are creating content that I want to listen to? And I believe that if you have these three, you can start gaining people's trust. By the way, it's the same with a restaurant, right? Are you making good food? Is the quality of the food high all the time? Are you investing back in me as a customer? And can I count on you that you're going to be open in the hours that you said, the food quality will remain consistent across time, and that I'm going to keep on getting the service that I got in the first time, which I fell in love for you for. So that's how you gain trust.
Okay. So basically, consistently providing value is very important, right?
Yeah, and that's true for everything, right? It's true for the tech company you are buying products from, for the gym you're going to, local gym you're going to daily or weekly. Trust is the same thing across any business, but in content, I think it is maybe more difficult because it's so easy to create content, and something that is very easy to do is also very easy to stop. So I think this is what people need to understand. If they want to get into this seriously, they need to have a plan and an investment, commitment and investment.
What feature took the most longer to build in the Lucid Dream?
Okay, so I'll get a bit technical here, but practically Lucid Dream is an agent. Now, if you've heard of OpenClaw or what Claude and ChatGPT are today, which you can say they are agentic, an agent is a harness with reasoning within it. A harness, what is a harness? A harness is, let's think about a harness, a physical harness. It grabs different stuff together, okay, and harness them. And so a harness for an agent is a platform that can call to different separated tools, okay, can reason which tool to use when, can reason to understand if something failed, should I repeat again, how should I repeat again, should I change something, can have some level of autonomy to maybe try something different, maybe try to use a different tool entirely that I don't have like an instruction of how to use right now, so complete independent. And that's Lucid Dream. And so the harness, which is the brain of the agent, is the most difficult thing to build. Mostly because if you play a bit with AI today, and of course it's improved a lot since even the beginning of the year, but AI is limited mostly by three things: compute, memory, and context. So compute is obvious, GPUs, this is why NVIDIA is making so much money. How do you run tasks, both to train the LLM, but also to run specific tasks ad hoc, which are now also run on CPUs by other providers. Then you have memory. So how much the AI remembers about you. So today you can ask Claude, hey, do you remember we spoke about X, Y, and Z? Can you poll this and can we continue this task from 10 days ago? It has very good memory. So it will say, yeah, I can find it in my memory. Let's continue to have everything I need. Tell me what you want to do. Okay, so that's memory. And then context, which memory is part of, but it's the context about you as a user. Who are you? What's your name? The obvious stuff. What are you doing? But also context about the world. So if you say, who won, England or Argentina? How does it grab content? It actually goes to the web, searches for information, and then it does what it does. And these are the three limiting things. So Claude is by Anthropic. Anthropic is a $1 trillion company. We are a very small startup, and we're trying to build something similar. Okay, maybe not as good, of course, right now, but similar. And so this is actually very difficult to do, especially when you're under budgeted.
Suppose Adobe or OpenAI or Anthropic came up with something which copies everything that Lucid Dream does. Then what will be your next move?
Yeah, brilliant. So I'm thinking about this constantly. Okay, I think Steve Jobs said a beautiful line. He said, in our business, in the tech world, of course, but in every business, but Steve Jobs said it on his business. He said, in our business, winning is spelled survival. And for me, as a very small startup, what does it mean to survive? Of course, not run out of money and all of that stuff, but beyond that is, how do you consistently create differentiation? And let's say that tomorrow morning ChatGPT could clip stuff and do everything that Lucid is doing right now. Then you have to move outside of what normal AI can do, which is, for example, how do you distribute directly to your social media connectors? Okay, so how do you tell Lucid, hey, here is my latest episode, find the best moments that my audience like, and distribute it across my socials, so TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Okay, then maybe the AI labs can do that as well. And so you add more stuff, which is, for example, I want you to listen to my audience. I want you to see how many people viewed every clip, what the comments were, aggregate that. First of all, tell me what's working, what's not, and also for yourself as an agent, improve the next batch. So if you see a lot of people like the longer clips, make longer clips in the future. If people like the controversial stuff versus the conformative stuff, make more controversial clips. So all this repetitive kind of reinforcement learning, as you can say, from social media is something that still the AI labs are far from. And I think it's actually very difficult to do it at scale right now. So I think it's always a game of differentiation. And then I'm getting to the last point. If you remember, I said, our customers are saying three things. They want to create, distribute, and monetize from a single app. And so then we are getting into our roadmap is how can we help creators monetize their content? Right now, this is still very unstructured, very manual, very human to human. But imagine that an agent can introduce me and you. You are a podcaster with thousands of views, and I'm a brand in India that wants to market to your listeners. So today to find you is very difficult. And then to agree with you on how much money I'm going to pay you and which ads we're going to have and who's editing the ads, all of this stuff, very manual. So imagine that the agent can do all of that. Help you to create and distribute your content, aggregate how many views you have, then tell a brand, hey, I know this guy has this amount of views. This is his audience. Let's put an ad, and this is the amount of money you should pay. And the agent is dealing with all of that. So that's how we are constantly evolving and building differentiation.
So, what is the startup idea that you wish that you had started?
Okay, I have two. The first one is easy because I still have the presentation that I did to investors 2.5 years ago. So I had an idea working in AWS. Okay, I had many meetings. I also have today many meetings, but we'll explain in a second why today it's not an issue anymore. But when I 2.5 years ago, I had so many meetings, and the biggest problem with human beings, we are forgetful, right? We forget stuff, and we are lazy. So I wanted to have a tool that remembers from the meeting what are the stuff that I need to do. So imagine that you have a call with your team, and they say, okay, Alon, so you're dealing with this. That's what you need to send me. That's the email. This is the presentation. Make sure you also send this to the customer. And please accomplish everything by Friday. Okay, deadline Friday. By the end of the meeting, I had to start another meeting. And by the end of the second meeting, I forgot entirely what I was told in the first meeting. So I said, okay, I have to have a tool that listens to the calls with me, captures what are my tasks, and help me to follow up. I called it Sync. And I had a presentation and a very good idea about how it would work. And that was just before ChatGPT 3.5 started. So it was before AI. Before I was aware AI exists, at least. It was definitely before ChatGPT 3.5. And I tried to raise money for this because I'm not a technical person. I didn't know how to build it myself. And I failed to raise money. And eventually I said, you know what, let's drop it. I don't know. Now, if you look today, you have so many startups who are doing exactly this, like Granola, Otter AI. Of course, you have transcriptions and other stuff from Google today, Google Meets, Zoom. So this is something that is happening. I still believe they are far from where I envision this to be. I want the tool to listen, transcribe, summarize, create the tasks, and fulfill them on my behalf. So that's an idea that I really want to have. And I believe we are very, very soon will be there. So that's the first one. The second startup idea that I wish I could start, and it's never too late, is these days, and by the way, I think some companies are starting to try and do this. These days, if you work in a startup, a medium-sized company, or especially in a big company, the biggest problem is everyone is using AI. right? ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is. And when they're using AIs, they're using AI on an individual level to fulfill their own tasks. But all of this context, the conversation, the output, so maybe one employee is making a presentation, another one is making a spreadsheet of finances, whatever it is, another one is making a contract with AI. All of this context is not aggregated and serving the organization's interests. So the startup I wish I it's never too late. An idea to have one agent mothership, as I call it, that manages all the conversations, all the context, all the memory, and all the data from the individual AI or individual agents, and support the company's growth using that. So that's something that I believe actually would be very valuable, and I'm sure someone is working on this right now.
So, what is the unfair advantage that you think that Lucid Dream has, apart from those other competitors or the people who are going to get into the market?
So I think the biggest problem you have with all the clipping tools today, even though I don't consider Lucid Dream as a clipping tool, but it is a core capability, is that you are dropping content, let's say YouTube link, or uploading your episode, whatever it is, the video that you want the tool to process, and they just spit out X amount of clips without any consideration, without any conversation. It's just a clipping tool, right? It's processing video into clips, 16:9, which is kind of the horizontal format, and the vertical for TikTok and Shorts. The biggest difference we had with Lucid Dream is that we've created an agent that converses with you about the content. So you can say, hey, remember I told Tanishq that moment we spoke about how to start a startup? Create a clip from that. And then, for example, you think the clip is too long. You say, hey, let's make the clip a bit shorter. Reduce the context, just make it like 30 seconds to the point. It will do that. And only after you confirm, and of course you can add, hey, I want you to add the name of the book which I mentioned, maybe put the image of the book, right, on the clip so people can see it and can go and buy it. Add my name as an intro, add an outro, add music, change the colors, whatever, change the color of the captions, put the captions here, put the hook. All of this conversational editing is something that no other clipping tool can do. And the beautiful thing we created is only after you approve the clip, you pay for it. So in any other tool, they spit 10 clips, you pay for all of them, if you like them or not. And you can say, hey, I don't like them. 8 of them are bad. Like they are repetitive or they are around the same topic. I want something more diverse. Okay, pay for more clips. So that's a very big difference. Now, if you think about Lucid Dream as an agent that you can converse with, it also allows you to do much more than the clipping. So it takes the episode or the video and you say, hey, we discussed about many things. You'll find the 5 best topics for founders that me and you discussed about. Okay, the agent will find them. And we say, amazing, please write a short article about these 5 takeaways from my conversation with Elon Michael. And so because it has all of this context in mind, it can create posts and it can create an article and a newsletter and anything you want out of this. And of course, it can design the thumbnail, and then it can distribute it on your behalf, and then it can aggregate the insights from your listeners. So in a way, we are not competing with clipping tools, even though the core value right now seems like, yeah, we're getting clips. But it's going to be much, much more than that. That's how I see it, at least.
What do competitors misunderstand about your market?
The way I see it is our competitors right now, alongside with the vibe, let's say, but I think it's a wrong vibe. Alongside with the vibe, they believe that the single most important thing is the amount of output and not the quality of the output. And so all the tools allow you to spit a lot of clips outside. And so you have a lot of content that is running on social media. But if you remember, I still very much believe all of us, human beings, the single most important thing we had since the beginning, and it will only be more important right now, is trust. And so I think the competitors misunderstand the fact that trust is built on quality, not on quantity. It is built on quality. And this is where we are going with Lucid and this is why everything about Lucid Dream right now is about quality. It is letting the user to have absolute control over the output, over how the output looks like, what it contains, and if they pay or do not pay for it based on if they approve it or not. And I think this is our take on this industry is, yeah, everyone can clip. Everyone can clip. But do you have the best clips? Do you have control over the everything about the clip itself? And if you don't, and it's just a machine that takes long form and spits out short form, and you have more quantity than quality, I think you're going to lose the game.
That's a point. That's a very fair point. Like apart from building these things, as a founder, what was the hardest day that you faced till now? Hardest day.
You know, I've been listening yesterday to a podcast. It's called The Long Strange Trip with Brian Halligan, the founder of HubSpot. He's the host. And the guest was Tariq Mansour, the founder of Kalshi, the bet on everything app or platform. Super successful today. And he spoke about an experience he had during the first 4 years. And he says it still continued today, and I can attest to it, that everything felt like a struggle. You can't raise money because no one knows you. You don't have enough users. You don't have enough money. You can barely pay your employees. Every month is, how do I survive the next month? You literally don't know. And then I invested almost all of my savings into this startup, or I can say today, all of my savings. And the hardest day is literally every day, especially in the past 6 months, 8 months. It's just a struggle. And the same way Tariq Mansour mentioned it, he said he was mentioning Ben Horowitz, the founder of Andreessen Horowitz, the VC company. He mentioned this book that called The Hard Things About Hard Things. Very good book. And in that book, there is a chapter that is called The Struggle. And he explains the struggle is just that. It is the fact of building a company. And you know, it's an interesting thing. I was thinking about it this morning. I think building a company goes against human nature. It's actually something that we are not wired to do, most of us. And the reason is, it is facing the unknown every day, and human beings don't like the unknown. We like to be able to predict what's going to happen tomorrow, because we need that as human beings. And I think building a company is just pain, constant pain and struggle. It is not fun. Most of it is not glamorous at all. And so for me, every day in the past 6 to 8 months was just painful, just painful. That's the reality. There is this line from the founder of the hotel chain called Four Seasons, if you heard of it. So the founder, his name is Isadore Sharp. And Isadore Sharp has an amazing book, and he says, excellence is the capacity to take pain. That's what it is. If you are designing a new hotel, or you are designing a new tool, or you are building a startup, if you want to be successful like Joe Rogan in podcasting, whatever it is that you are after, you are seeking excellence. Because to strive to earn users' trust and to be the best and to have the best product and the best service, you are seeking excellence. You are walking towards excellence. And the way there, the path towards excellence is paved with pain. So the capacity to take pain is something very important to achieve.
How difficult is fundraising today?
You know, I think more and more I discover something very interesting about this entire business. I think smart people believe that everything is about logic. And I think it's not the case. I think funding and raising money is about storytelling as everything else. Our politicians are very good storytellers. This is why they got the job, because they tell us a story about the future that they can provide to us. This is why they got elected. The biggest companies in the world are promising us stuff. SpaceX was just IPO'd. They are still losing money every month, and they are promising stuff that they today don't deliver, but they promise that they will deliver them. And of course, Elon Musk has a track record of someone who can break the strings of reality and make stuff that is unimaginable. So people believe him because his story is both very exciting and true in the past. Okay, he proved himself. And now I will answer, with this background, I will answer your question. It is hard to raise money today as it was before. Every cycle, the internet boom, then mobile, then social media, then crypto, now AI, has all the excitement that you need for people to say, take my money and make much more from it. because that's, and raising money eventually is someone wants to give you their money so that you can multiply it by 3, 5, 10x, 100x if you're successful. And so raising money for me is difficult. I want to admit the fact that it was difficult for me because I was leading with logic. I was leading with, we need to have this amount of users and this growth and this, that, but it's not true. You actually need to lead with the story. And you would find a lot of startups raising money, whether they are successful eventually or not, because they promise something very, very big about the future that they believe they can do and no one else can do. And so that's my learning from the past year and a half trying to raise money and honestly failing, is that you need to tell better stories. The second thing I will add this as well. This also is a game of who you know. So it's very important to know the right people when you are trying to raise money. So that's, if I would go back 18 months ago, I would focus much more on building relationships with people who can vouch for you, so that when you're trying to raise money, these investors, partners in big VC firms, can go have a phone call and say, hey, what do you think about a loan? And once they vouch for you, that person, that investor feels much more secure with the investment, because, okay, someone knows Alon is trustworthy, he's delivering, he's going to stand up to his word, he's going to stay here, even if it's tough, he's not going to give up, so I can trust him with my money. So that's my advice to people, is think about how you tell a better story and really invest in relationship and building your network around this world, if you're interested.
Okay. So did you guys raise any money or still bootstrap?
Yeah, so we raised, I don't want to mention the amount, but we raised a few $100,000 from angels. I invested my own money, most of my Sandvix, if not all by now. So we have capital. It's, of course, it's pre-seed even, you can say. So I cannot say it's raising like a seed money, etc. It's still ahead of us. But I'll be open with that. I failed to raise 2 rounds from big VC firms in the United States, mostly the big names that you know in the industry, and that is a painful experience to get so many no's. I think I passed 50 meetings that ended up with, so we are not interested right now. So yeah, that's the situation we are in.
How is your personal life like, and how much is it affected through this like whole startup thing as a whole?
Yeah, the very good question. I tell you what, I'm 37, and I was very lucky, or at least I consider myself lucky, to have lived very, very good life before starting the company. And not that my life are not good right now, but I had everything I wanted. And I mean this very seriously. I had everything I wanted. I'm married to an amazing wife. I have 2 kids. I'm very, very happy. And I've reached a level of comfortable or comfortedness. So I had, I could afford a vacation and to buy this and to buy that and a good salary and savings, and you can do whatever you want mostly. And when you realize that money to this extent is not as important as fulfillment, you come to the realization that having very good life, just like this comfortable life, is simply not enough, because you are bored and you feel unfulfilled, and you are kind of, you're starting to get older and older, and you feel, is that what I want to have with my life? Just say I worked for that and that company for many years, and then another company for many years, and another, and have savings, and eventually I bought a house. And so I didn't want that. I wanted more. We discussed this in the beginning. The way having a startup affected my life is that when you are working for someone else, even if you are a good employee, the level of how much you care ends at 5 p.m. Okay, you might be still answering emails, and you might even think about work during the weekend, but in reality, it's limited, it's capped. Both the potential is capped, but also your responsibility is capped. When you start your company, and this could be you start a stool for coconut shakes, right, in the streets in India, or you start a company, or you start a podcast, you cannot stop thinking about it. It's so addictive, it's so inclusive, it's everything. And so for the past 18 months, I work 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Most of the days I work 14 to 16 hours. It's everything. It's literally everything. So it really changed. But at the same time, I'm very lucky that, I'm still spend a lot of time with my family because I work from home, and I have this luxury, let's say, of putting my kids at school every morning, and be with them at dinners. So I'm still involved, but it is everything. It is very tough.
So, how did you get your first 10 users?
So I still believe that the best way, I told you, when I decided, and this is the big learning, when I decided what to build, I decided to speak with users first. And the strategy, which is just remarkable how good it is not to pitch them anything, but to just interview them as if you are interviewing a patient in the hospital. You go and you ask, what are you suffering from? And then let me understand if there is any medication that I can apply here. Now, if you think about a startup, and I just described, right? I described earlier how I did it with the first 200 creators. When you speak with them, and then you follow up and you say, hey, I spoke with you and 199 more creators just like you. Eventually, you all shared exactly the same thing. And I decided to build that. Would you be interested in using it if I build it? And then these people are saying, of course, that's the medication I told you that I need. And then this is how I got the first 200 users. Is I immediately moved from 0 users to, let's say, I don't know if 200 used it in the first kind of week or 2 weeks, but over 100 people from which I spoke with have used it in the first week. Some of them started paying in that same week. So that experience was amazing for me. And I can't recommend it enough. And I think I am a solo founder. If you are 2 founders, speak with 400 people. And then you get 200 people starting to use the product in the first week and maybe paying in the first week. That's incredible. Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, said it's much better to have 100 users who love you than 1,000 users who don't care about you. So building that relationship with these 200 people and then helping them to use the app, see them, onboard them myself sometimes, is so good. So that's my recommendation.
So, what do you think? Which are the best products in the market right now that people should be using on an everyday basis, and you also use on an everyday basis? Which AI tools?
So I think, of course, it depends on what you need. I'm now learning how to use Claude, not now in the past 2 months, but I've been using, of course, ChatGPT and Claude for years now, at least for a year and a half, 2 years. But I think the most important thing is how do you can leverage these tools so that they can work when you're not present. So that is the most important thing I think people are still missing. I think 90% of the population are still using AI as a search engine. So ChatGPT, what's the weather? Or can you help me with this question? Or how many, like my kids, they ask ChatGPT, how many teeth sharks have? So stuff like search engines, Wikipedia, right? And I think the way to use these tools is to have very aggressive, complicated, recursive tasks that these agents can do on your behalf. So I'll give you an example from how I use it every day with Claude specifically right now. I created a whole script for Claude to go through and to process so that every day at 7 a.m., it goes through the entire internet, finds every post on every social media that says, I hate clipping. It's so tough. It's so complicated, so expensive, takes all of my time. Something like that. When it finds it, it creates for me a report every morning of around 25 to 50 people from across the internet, from across the world, with the highest intent of using Lucid Dream. And it writes down in a way that I explain to it how I write. It writes down the response. Hey, for example, okay? Hey, I feel your pain. I also hate it. I also had my own podcast before, and I stopped because it was so painful to do that myself. And this is why I built an agent that does this. Do you want to try it? I can give you a voucher for 7 days trial for free. And all of a sudden, this agent, okay, Claude in my case, is actually acting as my go-to-market chief of staff. I can use it, and it is finding the people with the highest intent to use the agent. It is writing the response. It gives them the offer of 7 days free trial voucher, and I'm asleep. So that's, I think, how I would advise people. And of course, it could be many other stuff. It could be how to calculate your household expenses. So every time you spend money, for example, if people are interested, they can take a picture of the receipt. It goes directly to Claude, and Claude is giving you a summary every day or every week or every month how much money you and your spouse have spent. So I would advise to use AI in a way that is complicated, progressive, and recursive tasks that you would otherwise need to do manually. Even if you ask AI to do it, but every time you interact with it, it's still manual.
That go-to-market strategy was really good, to be honest.
Thank you very much. I picked it from the internet, so it's not my idea,
Okay.
but I perfected it to my needs and my writing style, because that's the most painful thing about AI, right? It sounds like AI. So I actually also found a hack how to train my AI, and this is what we're using also for Lucid Dream, to write in my own style. So all of this stuff is stuff that you just need to invest a bit of time in, but once you invest it in and they are automated, it's just like magic. It does everything for you exactly like magic. People use the same thing I described to trade stocks on their behalf. So it is really, it's limitless, and it only depends on how much time you invest to automate these tasks.
Okay. So it is quite like good thing to be smart, to be honest, in this case.
Always.
Always.
It was true for Buddha, and it's true for us today. It's good to, it pays off to be smart. And if you feel, I'm saying this to everyone who is listening, because we're all human beings, who is listening at home and saying, "Oh, I'm not smart like that. I don't think I can do it." So I want to tell something very personal about myself. I have never wrote a line of code in my life. I'm not a technical person. When AI first came out, I discarded it. Like anything else, I said, "Oh, that's so stupid. Everyone is speaking about AI. It cannot do anything. It hallucinates. It's stupid." And the only thing I understood is I'm speaking out of my own self-doubt and not having enough confidence that I can do it myself, because I grew up with an older brother who's an engineer, super smart, and I said, "I'm not that smart." But I think the only difference that I have today is that I decided, you know what, I'm going to change that. I'm going to invest everything I can, time, money, attention, patience, and learn how to use that and be like, just, I want to own this. And I think the smartness came from the decision, not from the fact that I'm smart or not. It's the fact that I decided to do that.
What was the first version of your Lucid Dream like? The first version.
So we moved really fast. So we only started 3 months ago, right? And I think the first version was actually very, very similar to what it is today, what you've yourself saw, right? It was just clunkier. It failed a lot to execute on what you asked, and it was just very fragile and not as accurate with the results. So I think the first version looked more or less the same. Now it looks better visually. So I'm designing the product. So I'm designing it like I hope I'm making it better and better visually. And it's just becoming more and more robust. And I think this is also something people need to think about this a lot, is the fact that today an MVP, most viable product, is something that is dangerous. Because if you release to the world a very early stage version of your vision, and especially with the potential attention it can get on day one, people can look at it, try it, and say, wow, this is not working. This is stupid. Who came up with this stupid idea? They have no idea how to build products. Doesn't look good, doesn't operate good. It's not smart enough. The flow isn't smart, whatever it is. And people get, they mark you. They're like, Lucid Dream, that failed app that doesn't work. So I think people need to think again about MVPs today, especially with how easy, quote unquote, it is to build. And I think what's easy to build is the MVP. You can go to Lovable or go to Cloud Code or Codex, and you can code anything you want, almost anything you want. The problem is how to make it good and how to make it reliable and how to build an infrastructure that is working properly across time. So yeah, the early version looked more or less like it works today, with the same vision in mind, with the same processes, just not as reliable.
Okay. So my questions are over. This is the last thing. Like the people who are building and they are very young in their careers, either they're building their own startup or starting their career in tech or any domain. What is the one message that you want to give to them who are very young?
I think, especially if you are very young, first of all, it's good. Start young. It's just you have more time, and time is still very important because you have more opportunity to do trial and error, fail, learn, fail and learn, fail and learn until you find a pattern that works for you. But the core message would be, don't give up. I think that's the only thing that matters eventually. I think it's the only thing that matters. I really believe that I thought that the brave ones who are going to win. I thought the ones who dare, right, to go against the odd are the ones who are going to win. But this is not actually true. The people who are going to win are the people who survive, who don't give up. I have behind me this book by Dyson, James Dyson, the founder of Dyson, the vacuum cleaner company, is multi-billionaire who started really from scratch with his own two hands. And in his book, he says, there is no such thing as quantum leap. There is only doggedness, persistence. And at the end, they make it look like a quantum leap. So doggedness, persistence is the only thing I would recommend people to focus on because it is so easy to start today. And it's also very easy to stop.